3.5 years after it had happened. And that was shocking to me. And I know now, after doing more research, that there's so many people in the AA and HPI community, especially for young men who have committed suicide. And I have a son, obviously, and it's, to me, there is a community and a cultural stigma about, I guess, not just mental health, but about any kind of judgments and anything that's outside of what we should, recommend in terms of, I guess, for example, there was a family that, there was a graduation party, and when, for the kids that had gotten into Ivy League schools, they got special gifts at the door. And I think that there's this stigma about what achievement and what success is. And, God forbid you should go through something that is a loss of a father or a husband, or you're in debt, or you're, have any kind of, mental health struggle. That's going to immediately push you to another, tier of, I guess, being outcast. And I know that I lived with that growing up, because I'm a child of immigrant parents. And there's just this this feeling of being the outlier or marginalized, and we just don't have the story in our Rolodex of films. So as a producer, that was really important to me, and I felt like it felt not so much as a responsibility, but as a wonderful way to have outreach without it being, I guess, didactic, but really just kind of sharing it with the community and hoping that it sparks conversation.
But a common moment to how you got project that must have been pretty surreal.
Absolutely, it was incredibly surreal from start to finish. So a little bit of background about me. I had gone into college at Chapman University, and I started out as a health science major. I was doing pre-med. I am Asian. It's part of it. It's part of it. You can't go in as an acting major. I think I've always loved movies. I loved filmmaking. I hadn't really had the chance to be an actor growing up, other than being like a small ensemble role in a theater production. But when I was at Chapman, because the film program there is so prevalent, I got the opportunity to start being in films and working on films, and it kind of became this opportunity for me to get into acting, and I absolutely loved it. I started auditioning, and my second year at Chapman, I went out for a student film. And I went out for that student film, it was a thesis film at Chapman. I did not get the part, but the casting director remembered my name enough to recommend me to one of our incredible producers, Manette, who then, a few months later, when they put out this open call, they did an open call for this role. When I auditioned for it, they remembered my name. And so that just kind of goes to show you where connections, no connection is too small. I think as an actor, you kind of have to just look for those moments and those people to really believe in you and to remember you. And I'm just so lucky to Lucy, to Eric, to the entire cast for believing in me enough to come out here and play this incredibly important role. It was my first feature film, so I was kind of soaking everything in a lot of times. Going in, I had worked on a few short films, a few small indie films, and so I didn't really have a sense of, how a set worked. I didn't know, how to block and where to go and certain beats and lines, there were a lot of them, they were new to me, and I had to spend a lot of time working on them with Eric and Lucy and making sure I knew what to do. But obviously I want to give them a lot of credit because they were very patient with me. They took their time to make sure I wasn't overwhelmed, getting into character. And with that, I also want to say, from what I learned from Lucy, one of the things that both her and Eric, but Lucy really highlighted for me, was that when I was in character, a lot of times when we finished shooting and I went back home, or cameras were rolling, was that, you know, she told me that it was okay to be yourself again, you know, to let go of the character. You don't need to carry the character with you every single day, every single moment. You know, especially a character like Shou and something that's so heavy and so emotional. You know, it's almost like a weight on you. And that it's okay to be yourself, to decompress, that it helps you, you know, to rest your mind, rest your body, and that when you leave the set and when the cameras aren't rolling, that you can kind of let that go, you know. And so I really took that to heart, I think, because if I had done that, I think it would have been overwhelming. You know, it would have been so challenging. I think it was already challenging enough going in, this being such a heavy and incredibly impactful role, and at the same time being my first feature film. So having that advice and having Lucy help me to let go and be myself again at the end of the day, I think that was a big reason why I was able to play this part and carry it out and really, really do this movie, you know, the way it should, or tell this story the way it should have been told.
I just want to say that, I mean, I think that as actors, we all know how, you know, deeply you want to entrench yourself. And Lawrence, even though you're saying that, you have it innately in you, we all do. And you almost have to just trust that. You're not going to lose it when you go home and, you know, take a shower, even though he's been homeless for a long time. You know, like, you can still be, you know, to regroup. And you are, and we all are, have that. And I think that, you know, sometimes you're afraid to let it go because you think you're going to lose it, but you never would. And you have earned this role, and you are, no matter what you do, you are going to always have that with you. You know, and I think that we sometimes forget that. Like, if we don't stay somewhere where we're supposed to be, you know, we're not going to be able to, I guess, express it the same way. And I think sometimes that we forget that we just have to trust that we have something in ourselves that we don't, you know, sometimes we just have to trust it, that's all.
So you came to this obviously with years of experience.
For one another in our films, whether you're an actor or a filmmaker, whatever, you know, part you may be, but it's all about showing up. And I think that's why, you know, Lucy mentioned it earlier, we're so grateful because this is what showing up looks like, and this is what people told us we wouldn't have. And so showing up right now and coming out to our opening weekends, you know, it means the world to us.
It truly does. And we opened in New York for 1 week, so we started today. We opened for 1 week, and this is a grassroots effort. So I just, you know, it's kind of amazing to me that it's just so easy to dismiss, I guess, our stories. And that's been a very painful, you know, realization in the making of this movie. No matter how, you know, how many other movies have been popular, the struggle of like getting 16 different investors to come on board, and also knowing that, you know, some of them have never invested in a movie before, you know, and we just wanted to trust that this movie had an impact, and that was going to be, you know, living much longer than maybe, you know, the dollar signs. And it's hard to prove that. You know, it's hard to prove what's not tangible. And the acting is also not tangible. Like, you talk about it, you feel it, but you can't like tell it or react it. You're just like, you know, receiving it. And so we feel like you are part of this movie by just being here today. And I can say right now that we feel like we've received, you know, all of that energy back for all of the hard work that everybody put into it. And I just feel such gratitude, so thank you.
So in the spirit of continuing to support this great film, can you please hold your seats, because